Hi, it's Elwin Robinson, author, founder of the Health Mastery Training Program and creator of this Double My Energy training series. So, I've got a really important question for you, so just stop what you're doing right now, pay attention for a minute and answer this question for me. Do you already have an abundance of energy? And do you already feel so centered, so calm that no matter what life throws at you, no matter how busy you are, you can handle it? If not, this is going to be of real interest to you. Because what I'm here to tell you is this: it is possible to wake up full of energy, and it's possible to go to sleep at night completely relaxed and ready to rest and ready to rejuvenate yourself for the next day. It's ready to be balanced all day, to have the right amount of energy. It's easy to stay calm and centered no matter what life throws at you. It's easy to feel in control of your life, like nothing's going to shake you off course. It's easy to feel a level of confidence that allows you to really go out there and experience a variety of different things. It's possible to have enough energy to do something that really matters, so you can feel really meaningful, like you're really making a difference in the world. And it's possible to have the composure necessary to really love people fully and openly and not let the everyday stresses and the huge to-do lists and all the rest of it get in your way. How do I know this is possible? Because it's the life that I'm living now. But it wasn't always like that, believe me. Throughout most of my life, I didn't experience any of those things. I struggled, I had really low energy all throughout my life from early childhood. I had quite a difficult childhood. I think I was quite a difficult child, and one of my parents was quite abusive to me, and I became quite kind of aggressive and shut down fairly early in life. My health was never very good, even though I used to eat fairly good food compared to most people. And I just remember I was always low on energy and always low on life force is a way of putting it, joy. I never really wanted to play with the other kids. I never really wanted to engage in the world. I always just felt like hiding, and because I just didn't feel like I had what it takes to do stuff in the world, and also to be able to adapt to all the things that life threw at me. I was basically in hiding. And then later on in life, when I got to when I first got to school, I discovered sugar, and sugar seemed to be the answer, and that gave me a quick burst of energy. And I was eating sweets and hiding them from my parents because I wasn't allowed them, and that gave me little bursts of energy and confidence. But then, soon I'd crash again. And then I became a teenager, and I discovered stimulants like coffee and tobacco and drugs like cannabis and other things like that, and that seemed like a revelation. Suddenly I could, with cannabis I could really relax, with coffee I felt really energized. But again, it only lasted a short amount of time, and then I crashed and felt worse. And that was pretty much how it went on throughout my life. It was just those little peaks of feeling good, and then no, feeling bad again. Most of the time feeling bad, just feeling bad as a baseline, and then occasionally having a bit of energy and confidence, and then no, crashing again. And I laugh now, but this is pretty tragic, and I got to the point of feeling absolutely desperate, absolutely, I can't carry on living this way, and I have to find a way. I have to find a way to increase my energy, and I have to find a way to lower my stress, because my stress was really killing me. I was even signed off work by a doctor for a long time for anxiety issues, signed off again for stress, so this was a big issue to me. What I discovered is that what's really essential is to absolutely commit to finding an answer. Okay, so that's what I did. But even when I did that, I tried all the conventional things that they tell you in the West. That didn't work, I tried all the alternative things. None of that worked either. So perhaps through my commitment, or probably more likely through blind luck, I just happened to stumble on that there are these simple things which are incredibly obvious and that no one can really argue with, and yet no one's doing. And all the stuff that you're told to focus on in the the conventional Western world, which is taking medicines and taking drugs, that doesn't work. But a lot of stuff that they talk about in the alternative world, like diet and nutrition and detoxing and stuff like that, that can be of some benefit, but for a lot of people that doesn't work either, or if it does work, it doesn't work enough. You're still not at that optimal level yet, and that's because there are so many things which are more basic, which we just tend to completely ignore. When I discovered these things, to begin with, I was just so happy that they were starting to work for me. But what I found is more and more people coming to me and asking me how I was getting the results I was getting. And when I tried to share it with them, I didn't quite know how to do it, but when I did and they got it and they did it, they felt so much better. And of course now I've worked with, literally thousands of people. I've helped a lot more than that in remote ways, like through video trainings like this. I've got countless stories and testimonials from people telling me that I've changed their life, that they've gone from being anxiety-ridden or depressed or agoraphobic or chronic fatigue or any of these kind of severely energy depleted, kind of joy depleted situations to where they're now doing amazing things like running marathons and climbing mountains and starting businesses and doing things to make the world a better place, and it's absolutely fantastic and it's so rewarding. And when people come into me, they would say, how do I find out more about this? And I wanted to recommend like a book or an audio program or something, but nothing seemed to be out there that actually just told you all this stuff easily, simply, comprehensively. And that's where I decided, I had to make something to share all this, because there are so many myths out there, and those myths just don't help. Now, two of the myths that I hear probably the most commonly are, it's just not possible to get my energy back. That's the thing that I hear most frequently. Oh, well, I'm just getting older. I hear that from sometimes people in their 20s, But, especially as you do tend to get older, you think, oh, well, it's just not possible to get it back. Another thing that I often hear is that I should be the same as everyone else, Now, both of these are completely not true, To begin with, it is always possible to get your energy back, No matter what situation you're in, it is possible to significantly increase your energy, and in the vast majority of cases, it's possible to double your energy beyond, okay? It's also definitely possible to reduce your stress. Okay, to have more confidence, to feel more of a capability to deal with whatever life throws at you. This is absolutely true, and I've seen it again and again in all sorts of people, in all sorts of situations that you might never imagine. Now, one of the myths that I hear the most commonly is some version of, it's too late for me, or I can't do it. The reality is everyone can do it, and it gets especially easy to use this excuse as you get later in life. Although, to be honest, I hear this from 20-year-olds, so everyone can try this excuse, but it really isn't true, And the older you get, or the more stress and difficulty you have in life, the more true it can feel, So I get that, and like I said, I was in my teenage years, and I felt like it was just impossible for me, so I know what that's like. But I'm telling you, it's a myth. It's not true. I have a client right now who is in his late 60s, and he's just run a half marathon recently, and he's now working up to running a marathon. And he's out running almost every day, and he feels awesome. Right? This isn't like some major chore. He loves it. Now you could say, oh well, he's probably been fit and healthy all his life. No, he's been a computer programmer throughout most of his life. He was sedentary, he wasn't active at all. He's just someone who decided one day that he was going to get healthy again. And and he sought out my help and got to the next level again, but he's doing amazingly well. So no matter how late you've got to this, it's never too late, I promise you that. Another thing that I hear though, which also is true, and this is kind of like almost an opposite point, is, oh, well, it should be the same for everyone, So, my neighbour John, my neighbour Mary, they can, get up and go to work and then go to the gym or whatever. They seem to be alright. Why can't I do it? There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me, so I can't do it. Right? So it's another version of I can't do it. Again, this is a myth, because what we need to understand, what there's not really any understanding of in the West, although they understand this very well in the East, is that everyone has their own very natural level of reserve energy. Okay? So that brings me to the first part of our training today, is to realise that in the realm of energy, in terms of our physical energy, in terms of what we can actually do in a day and how good we feel, we basically have two types of energy, which is our everyday energy, our vitality, our vital energy, and then we have our reserve energy, which we also call our adaptive energy. Now, one of these relates to just that energy that you have to get out of bed, to do what you got to do, to feel good, right? And then the other one relates more to stress, to being centered, right? To being confident no matter what, to feeling like you can handle whatever life throws at you. And this particular energy, adaptive energy, is not just based on what you do, although it is partly based on what you do. So let me explain. Two different types of energy, right? What are they? Everyday energy and reserve energy, right? Everyday energy and reserve energy. Now, I'm going to give you training on both of those. Everyday energy relates to the simple habits that we do day to day. And of course, you're going to get a complete training on that, okay? It's simple things that we do day to day. And then our reserve energy is something which actually comes down to us generation by generation. This is something that we get from our parents, right? So everyone has different levels of these reserves. Some people are born with loads, some people are born with hardly any. You know, you're probably in between, like most people. I was on the low end of in between. Could be worse, but certainly could have been better. When you have naturally low reserves, you find you struggle more, you get overwhelmed more easily, you get stressed more easily, you don't have the same level of confidence that other people seem to. You kind of feel like you don't fit in, you know, like you can't do things that other people can do. And you tend to get exhausted more easily, you tend to get fatigued more easily, you tend to burn out more easily, okay? So in order to double your energy, you also need to halve your stress. The two go hand in hand, right? And that relates to building up our everyday energy and building up our reserve energy, right? So that we can double our energy and halve our stress, okay? Really as simple as that. Now, the obvious question comes up, well, why do we have low everyday energy and why do you have low reserves of energy? Well, the everyday energy is really simple. It's basically because you don't have the habits in place to keep your everyday energies high. However, it's also because your reserves are low, okay? And when your reserves are low, it's harder to keep up with the daily grind, as it were, right? Now, why would you have low reserves of energy? The answer to that is a little bit more complex. It could be, like we say, because you didn't get as much as maybe your neighbour or someone else has got from their parents, and that's just the luck of the draw, right? That's just the way it is. It could also be because you're spending your reserves more quickly then. What tends to use up your reserve energy more quickly? Well, probably fairly predictably, it's going to be stress. However, it's also other things like mental activity, just being in your head all the time, thinking, you know, not really being present very often, always trying to work things out, always living in your head. That can really burn through your energy. In men, excessive sexual activity can burn through their energy, in their reserve energy. In women, the process of giving birth and feeding their child, that really uses up their reserve energy. Of course, in the woman it makes sense. They're literally using their reserves and giving it to a child. It's like the ultimate sacrifice. It's wonderful, you know, but it does lower your reserves of energy. Stimulant abuse, you know, demineralization, you know, living in a world where we don't eat and consume anywhere near the amount of real highly mineralized foods that we should do because of the way that our agriculture is, because of the way that our crops are raised, you know, so all of the kind of, and toxicity, that's another one, toxicity, just the process of getting those toxins out, each through our reserves of energy. So basically, you know, in our life we have all the usual stuff which would have used up our reserves, like, you know, childbirth and just the stresses of living, but then we have all the new stuff like having foods that are depleted in nutrients, having way more toxins than ever before, having way more input than ever before. You know, we've got so many different things all around us which are constantly calling for our attention, and it drains our reserves of energy. In fact, I read recently that scientific research has shown that every decision uses up a portion of your reserves of energy. Even just a simple decision like, shall I listen to this? Shall I answer this email? You know, and you get bombarded with all these options every day. They all drain your reserves of energy, okay? So this is something that we need to be aware of, okay? You can't change it, you can't go back 500 years, but we need to be aware of things the way they are, right? Because that's the first step to doubling your energy and halving your stress, right? You need to know how it is. Now don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to go out and live up in a mountain somewhere. I know that you have a life to live and that's what you're here on this planet to do. So what we're going to do is show you a way that you can live a much better life where you have more energy, less stress, and therefore do everything you need to do, but also get closer and closer, if you're not already completely there, to living the life of your dreams all the time. Now, probably the most common thing I hear when I start to talk about energy to people, if they are people who've never kind of got into the whole health world, never heard of alternative healing of any kind, the thing they normally say is, oh, you just need more sleep and rest though, surely. or I just need to take a holiday. This is what people convince themselves. However, how many times have you taken a holiday or had some time off or had a weekend where you could catch up on your sleep and then you just felt even worse? How many people go on a holiday and then get ill? So no, just that isn't enough. Unfortunately, I wish it was that simple. And in the alternative world, I hear, oh, it's all about diet and nutrition. You just got to eat this diet, and then suddenly everything will be, wonderful. And I fell for that as well when I tried these diets, and unfortunately they didn't work. And it's not just me. So many people I've spoken to, you're watching this right now. Have you tried a diet to get more energy and found it didn't work, right? Or found that it didn't work enough? Or found that maybe you give you more energy, but you also have more stress, right? Because more stress just means that you're burning through your reserves more, right? There's got to be a better way. And in fact, what I discovered, there is a better way. But it involves 7 pillars, right? And these aren't just things like take one thing or something. If you're after a magic bullet, just do this one thing and everything is suddenly, cured. Approach, then you may as well stop watching this now. This isn't for you. This is for people who want to get real. This is for people who want real results. And I know if you've watched this far, then that's you, okay? So there's 7 pillars. The first one is oxygenating. Second one is hydrating. Third one is remineralizing. The fourth is alkalizing. Fifth is resting. The sixth is rebalancing. And the last is tonifying. Now, I'm going to teach you about what all of those means during future videos, but all of these steps are actually really essential. Now, is it not possible that just one of these or a couple of these or whatever will work? Will help to increase your energy, will help to reduce half your stress? Yes, definitely. I've had clients who have done any one of these pillars and had wonderful results, You don't obviously have any control over what your clients and what your customers do, so some of them, they just say, hey, I did this one thing that you recommended and I had a completely different life. Awesome, good for them. But what I'm telling you is, in order to guarantee that success, in order to, not just double in fact, but triple. I mean, God, the amount of energy I have now compared to what I had before, it must be 10 times. And that's just not me making a figure up in my head. If I look at the amount I produce, the amount that I do, the amount that I am able to benefit the world, 10 times as much. If I look at the amount of stress I have, probably 100 times less. I used to get overwhelmed at the idea of answering the phone or leaving the house, or the most simple things. Now, I'm running multiple businesses. I'm helping, hundreds of people to completely transform their lives. I'm creating all kinds of things, and I've been touring the world. It's a completely different level if you follow all of these 7 pillars, right? Of oxygenating, hydrating, alkalizing, resting, tonifying, remineralizing, and rebalancing. Okay, said them in a different order there, but basically it's not like there's one that's more important than the other. They are all essential. Right? Now, if you think you already know how to do all of these things, you're like, oh, I've really heard of alkalizing, I know how to do that. Well, maybe you do, but I would encourage you to be open to the idea that actually there's a lot more to it than you might think. And at the same time, it's a lot simpler than you might think. Because that is what you're coming to me for. You're coming to me for someone who's already been through it, who's already tried all the stuff, who's already helped so many other people. And the people who tend to come to me are not the I don't market to people who are just starting, the people who are doing really well anyway. People who tend to find me are the people who've tried everything else and nothing has worked for them, sometimes for decades, right? So I've helped all those people who nothing has worked for. And when I do get those people come my way, maybe you're like yourself, who is doing okay anyway, but just wants to get to the next level, you follow my advice, my God, you're going to be amazed, You're going to be amazed at just what you're capable of. You're going to be amazed at just what's possible. It is incredible. Now, if you're still watching me right now, then you know that this stuff works, right? You can feel it, you know that I have integrity, you know that I know what I'm talking about, and you know that I am committed to helping you. So, why don't I just tell you what to do? Well, one of the other biggest myths that I hear from people is that it's really as simple as doing the steps, okay? And this is, a lot of my focus is on training and coaching and helping people to get to a point of mastery. And there's a really good reason why 9 out of 10 people who buy a book never read it to the end. There's a really good reason why the majority of people who start a diet don't see it through to the end. There's a really good reason for that, and that's because it's more than just about the how-to. It's more than just the 7 pillars. It's more than just the practical steps. More than anything, it's about the psychology. Okay, so that relates to here, and it relates to here. So what am I talking about here? Well, one of the most common traps that I find for people who become depleted in energy or high in stress is that they fall into the trap of being a victim. Now, we've all done it. I know I've done it. Feeling like, oh God, I'm just not capable. It's just not possible. I can't do it. It's too hard. All that kind of thing. And now, believe me, I know, because I lived most of my life this way. Okay, so I completely understand what that's like, and to some degree, maybe I still do. I keep finding things in myself about where I realise that I can get to the next level of empowerment and never falling for that I can't kind of thing. Okay, but the more depleted in energy you have, the more depleted in energy you are, both your everyday energy and your reserve energy, the more likely you are to fall into that trap, because it feels really real, right? It felt really real to me. My physical energy really was low. My reserves really were low. And so it felt really justified to say, I can't do it. So before we go into all the practical steps, what we have to do is get some real clarity about where we are. What I really advise you to do right now, again, stop, pay attention, and ask yourself, where am I right now in my life? And if you're watching this, what I suspect is that you are in the second act. What am I talking about? The second act. Every good story, in fact every story pretty much, is based on a 3-act structure. Now what am I talking about? Every story has a beginning, middle and end, right? However, there's normally a very specific type of structure to that, and I encourage you to look at, look at your favourite stories, look at all the most powerful stories out there, and you'll see that this basic structure is there. And that's basically this. And by the way, if you're wondering what this has got to do with energy, trust me, this is the most important distinction that you're going to hear for a long time about how to get energy, so really pay attention, okay? The first act is that act where everything is good, it's kind of, you feel you have hope, and there's possibility. Maybe, sometimes it isn't wonderful, but sometimes it's just okay, but yeah, there's hope, there's possibility, things are good, there's a chance for something better, okay? And then you hit the time of adversity, and that's when things get really hard, and that's when you really struggle, and that's when you feel like giving up. Think about any story, any heroic story, you have the introduction, everything's nice, then the big bad enemy comes along and threatens to destroy everything, right? And then what's the third act? The third act is the triumphant return. Okay, the third act is the against all the odds, 1,000,000 to 1 shot victory, and all the classic kind of heroic stories. In fact, all stories, whether it's ancient ones like the Odyssey, or whether it's modern day ones like Star Wars or Legally Blonde. Just throwing examples out there. I just want to have boys ones. Anything. There's always the trying to, and then oh god, it's all going wrong. It's all I may as well give up. Oh, no, I'm going to push through, and then the heroic triumph. Right? Now, if you're watching this right now, you're probably in your second act. Okay? You're probably struggling, right? Your energy is low, your stress is high, and you're at a point of getting desperate maybe, or at least getting worried and thinking, what the hell am I going to do? Maybe you even felt like giving up. You probably have at least some points. And what I'm telling you is that you're in your second act. And before you can get into your third act, you need to at least imagine it being possible. Because I work with people who are very depleted in energy. A lot of people, people with chronic fatigue, people with ME, and what they all have in common, the people who are really stuck in it and can't heal, or believe they can't heal, is that they completely believe that they are a victim of their situation and they can't imagine getting better. And that's the really crucial thing. So, I'm going to challenge you to do something right now. And if you do this, this is going to be the most important step to health, energy, and reduced stress that you can even imagine. And that is to write your own personal story. Okay? Write your own personal story. But write it as if the third act has already happened. right? So let me give you a really simple example. It doesn't have to be really long, it doesn't have to be poetic or clever or whatever, but just write it down, okay? Now the first act for me might be, okay, you know, when I was really young, I you know, had really strong feelings and really strong passion and purpose and really believed deeply about things, but I also felt dreadfully shy, dreadfully scared and anxious. My energy was really low. I often felt very depressed and desperate and got to the place of being suicidal, and eventually life just got to me. You know, I was bullied a lot at school. I realised when I left school that, you know, there was nothing out there for me, there was no jobs, there was nothing that I was really fit to do, and I just got into a deep level of depression, you know, into a level of, oh God, you know, life is futile, I don't want to live anymore. And that could have been the end for me, but there was some part of me that just knew that there was something more. I don't know if you can relate to this, but there was some part of me that knew there was something more, something better, something out there for me. And I decided that I was going to push through and make that happen. And to begin with, you know, it wasn't easy, and because I didn't have any help and guidance like you're having right now, I didn't understand, but I created this vision about what was possible. And sure enough, I started to create a life for myself. Rather than being a victim reacting to what life threw at me, I started to create a life where I discovered what I really wanted to do, and then I started doing whatever I wanted to do. And just like a story, there are all kinds of, you know, friendly characters and helpers and mysterious synchronicities, which is like a meaningful coincidence, means that, you know, things show up just at the right time and all the rest of it. And so against all the odds, even despite me believing that I couldn't do it, I somehow got to a place where I was incredibly happy with my life and incredibly happy to be able to share my story with people and be able to help them. Right, see? That's my personal story. Now, I spoke that generally about it, that could have been your personal story, right? Obviously there are some specifics that may not relate to you, but do you get the idea? I didn't say, you know, I lived here and then I went here and then in this year you know, it was quite general. Now, you can do pretty much the same thing. You can imagine your life as it was, and you can imagine that, you know, by the end of this year, you know, are on a definite course and you know what your life is all about, and then by the beginning of next year, you're actively living it. You can do that too. Right? So what I would like you to do is do that. You can either write it down, or you can record it in a video just like this. Your computer that you're watching this on probably has a webcam, or you can use a camera, a flip cam, or whatever you want. And I would like you to record that story, and if possible, I would love you to post it underneath here, or post it and share it with me in some other ways. Post a link to it maybe, or you're welcome to email it to me as well. Although I'd love it if you'd share it with the world. Because when you share it in the world, it's like you're making a statement like, I'm going to do this. This is real, this is happening, no more excuses, no more hiding, no more waiting, I'm going to make this happen, right? So I want you to create a story where you imagine this life of your dreams, where you have all this energy and where nothing can faze you because you don't get stressed about things. I want you to see it, I want you to feel it, I want you to taste it, I want you to hear the kind of things you say to yourself. And when you're primed, when you've done that, when you're ready, then in the next video, what we're going to be doing is looking at what the actual steps are, okay? We're going to start going through that step by step. Plus, we're going to look at a few of the more common myths, because it's myths that really get in the way, you know? As much as I'm saying now, oh, let's create our big myth, you know? It's all the myths about, you know, what's not possible, and oh, you have to go this way. They're so deeply ingrained in us, and they were so deeply ingrained in me. Right? And they're probably deeply ingrained in you. And so we need to keep destroying those myths that get in the way so that we can create. Okay? We're going to destroy so that we can create. And we're going to create a better life for you. So please, whatever you do, write your own personal story or relay your own personal story in whatever medium feels good to you. Ideally, definitely, yes, share it with people. Or if you don't want to share it with everyone, please at least share a comment. You know, get involved, just comment underneath here. Click the Facebook icon and share this with people. Let them know about this amazing opportunity. You know, tweet. Do what you can to really spread the message, spread the word, let people know, and get involved, comment. And I look forward to seeing you so much for the next video, where we're going to learn more about the things which just completely don't help us, that we're kind of attached to, and then look at the more definite how-to steps. But this first one is a definite how-to step, okay? Create a story for yourself where you realise that all the struggles that you've got going on right now, all the difficulties you've got, they're just the second act. Okay? They're not you start off good and then, oh, that's it. That's not how stories go, right? It's not, oh, not any good story anyway. How stories go and how your story is going to go is exactly like mine. It's going to be, not that great, but hopeful to, oh God, it's really struggling, and then, oh, wonderful. Okay? That's what I want for you. Because it's your birthright and you deserve it. So, thank you so much for watching it. Stay tuned next time for what we're going to do with this story and more practical applications. And until then, thank you for watching, and don't forget to comment.